Hello everybody, it's Peter with an I, S-T-A-W-A-R-T. Welcome to segment 11 of, I don't know, the Dark Tower, I guess.
To be lost. After they parted ways, Susie Lee wondered just how far she should push the thing about the other girl not having any teeth. She knew that Mona would agree with her because she didn't really have any incentive to defend the stranger. But on the other hand, she wondered if Mona would betray her by suddenly taking the moral high road, using ethics as a tool to disgrace her in front of Charles and Chauncey. She would be seen as possessing nobility, and by humiliating her, Mona would show the boys that she wielded more social power than her lowly, petty counterpart. Mona wouldn't do that to Susie Lee, but Susie Lee would sure do it to her. She decided to make a very safe joke about it, and it went over brilliantly, and everyone who was important got a kick out of it. Joe nervously explained that they were just some people he felt like he had to say hello to, as charity, and agreed that they were buffoons, and even contributed a few jokes at their expense. Chapter 11. Nancy and Frank headed off to the theater, bought tickets and had a seat, waiting for Diablo to start. The lights dimmed, and the 2-minute pre-presentation films came on. One of them was made for the theater company to suggest to the moviegoers that they should buy some popcorn, and candy at the concession booth. The little computer-animated candy box musicians played a little brass band tune as they jumped around. Frank's brow creased and he shifted in his seat when he saw what was delivered to him on the movie screen. Frank was under some stress lately and was feeling down. He had been dealing with a lingering ailment he just couldn't put his finger on. Frank realized at that moment that he had been suffering from a hollow feeling. A feeling of loneliness. It was made resoundingly clear to him that he had been needing a woman, a soulmate, because now, sitting in the dark theater that afternoon, Frank was shown the answer to his dreams, the cure that would fill his deepest desires. She was a cup, the loveliest cup he'd ever seen. She was beautiful, and with her by his side, he could not want. He could not ever want again because their love would provide for them, from here to eternity. And his cup would be full. She had big, ocean-colored eyes, and thick eyelashes that hung low, giving her a dreamy look. She had pert, strawberry lips, and the pink blush to her cheeks was the perfect complement to her conical little blue body, and her straw came down like an accent of hair on her forehead. After hours of looking at her, Frank would only begin to fully appreciate her beauty. His heart flooded with caring. She was escorted by a box of popcorn, who looked way too old for her. But Frank told himself that their relationship was just for the skit. Still, he couldn't help but be jealous when she gave him a peck on the cheek, and the top of his head popped kernels everywhere. When the commercial ended, and another preview came on, Frank stood up and looked around, breathing heavily, wondering if he could have the projection booth rewind the film. But that would be ridiculous. There was no way to bring back the moments of bliss when his heart was full, and now his love was so brutally ripped out of his life. He was frantic. He needed the impossible. Frank looked up to the heavens and shouted. Other people in the audience weren't sure who this freak was, but they sure hoped he wasn't going to keep screaming at the heavens when the movie came on. Frank stumbled out into the runway and raised his fist while he shouted in mortal pain. For reasons that couldn't be explained, the sprinkler system came on, And as people in the audience ran this way and that, Frank roared with anguish, his mighty muscles unable to pull back the chains of time that slowly took the titanous barge that housed his love farther out into the sea of what once was. Nancy sat there resting her mouth against her knuckles, while the sprinkler water, which would take forever to dry, soaked through the bottom of her sweats. She was unable to apply any rhyme or reason to the events of the last 30 seconds, as Frank sat there on his knees, howling. Two people who worked for the theater tried calling for his attention over the noise of the indoor storm, and of course, his cries of agony. Nancy came to see Diablo, and ended up watching Frank start a holy flood. It was like pressing the power button on the television remote control and having a game show host step out from around the corner.
Everybody give a big hello to Nancy!
And present her with a brand new elephant. And suddenly notice that an entire studio audience had been hiding on the other side of the room. When the theater staff asked her what was going on, it was like the game show host asked her what she had to say and held the mic over for her response. Nancy smiled at them with no teeth, so they decided to leave her alone. Everyone from that theater was moved into the next one located down the hall. Nancy and Frank watched the movie they came for, wrapped in blankets the employees had given them to keep warm. Actually, they were less like blankets and more like 6 napkins to divvy up between the two of them. None of the theater staffs really minded the sprinkler system going off in that theater. It was pretty much the only thing that would clean out 15 years worth of spilled pop and popcorn from the seats and rug. Frank was unable to enjoy the movie. When the little commercial with the cup came on, Frank looked like he was getting all agitated, breathing hard and getting a desperate look on his face. When he started to stand up, Nancy pulled him back down and said politely, "Frank, boy, if you could keep from doing that again, it'd be great." And she offered him a drink of her pop. The movie was great, and made her forget about her missing teeth, and the fact that her friend was an embarrassing lunatic. She looked over a few times and saw Frank drinking from the straw, like it was an unearthly margarita served in the Holy Grail. He was getting so into drinking that pop and cradling it in his loving arms that she decided to let him keep it. Evidently, he really liked Mr. Pibb. Frank had such love for that cup. Yeah, the one from the movie. The animated cup? Yeah. Frank fell asleep that night clutching his pillow, crying into it. In the main house, Pottymouth wasn't sad. He was happy that Frank was there. It was the 3rd night in the past 6 months that Pottymouth wouldn't have to stay at a motel. Having Frank there and paying him all that money would turn out to be to his financial advantage if one were to figure in the price of motel fare. Pottymouth wished he didn't have to be in that house at all, or even come near it. The only reason he stayed there was because he considered himself to be a hard man, a man's man. As Nancy made her way back to the condemned house and back to some dry clothes, she did a few kicks in the air and yelps like Duncan Reno did during the karate fight that took place on the wing of the big Serengeti plane. When she kicked like that, she looked like a creature from the Yellow Submarine. She worked at the computer with renewed vigor. She realized how slow her work was when she allowed herself to drag her heels. All that time to see the movie pushed her to focus and kept her from taking breaks. The little breaks were what really slowed her down. Usually, she would type for a while, run out of steam, take a break to make some coffee, or toast some bread, or walk up to the mini-mart, or simply let her mind drift onto other things. In a 6-hour period of working at the computer, 3 of them would be spent actually getting anything done. But now things were different. She was mad about her teeth, and the fight sequences of Diablo inspired her